What is up, YouTube? How you guys doing today? Hopefully you had a wonderful day. So, yesterday I kept on trying to record, and me, like a dumbass, was forgetting how to record. Uh, this third part of this very interesting story, um, and a topic that has been more than sweeping the nation, about transgenderism. Like I said, too many people who speak out against it, if they're not for it, we're living in the cancel culture. Or right away, like, oh my god, you're phobic, this and that. And it's terrible. I really sucks because they say, free speech, but there's no such thing as free speech. And just to kind of, I don't want to say conclude, but what's the word I'm looking for here? An example of that, I don't know if you guys ever pay attention to the stock market, but I know the ending of last week to the beginning of this week. I know Anheuser Busch, the Bud Light brand, was down 500 million ever since the whole thing came out. Now I have no idea who the guy. Oh, I'm sorry, the woman, the girl, guy, girl, whatever is, who they are. Never heard of them. I really don't follow that whole movement. Now, let me preface this by saying I have absolutely nothing against the LGBTQ community. Uh, in fact, I have a funny story that I could tell about this, but I've had plenty of coworkers who were, gay and had no problem with them, had fun with them, laughed with them. But I got to tell this story now that since I'm talking about this, and before I go on to the rest of the video, you guys could more than welcome to skip across this. But this is one of the funniest stories I ever had. So, my best friend, it's a girl. A lot of my guy friends were always like, "Oh my God, hook me up with her." She very very beautiful girl. I just never seen her that way. I mean, her and I had been friends for so long. She honestly like a little sister to me. I mean, her and I have been, when I used to drink shit faced drunk around one another, nothing remotely close ever happened. So when people are like, "Oh my God, I cheated on you because I was so drunk," that's a fucking lie. If you really like, yeah, it's a lie. Her and I, like I said, have been drunk around each other so much, and not even an inkling of, you know, touching, holding hands, kissing, grinding, anything of the sort. Nothing remotely close to that. So now that I established that, there's a reason why I established that so much, because this is funny. So, way before COVID and all that stuff, there was a concert going on at the Fillmore. And the Fillmore is located on Colfax, which, for those of you guys who aren't, familiar with Colorado or Denver, Colorado, Colfax is the longest continuing street. So there's no breakups in it. There's no odd turns. Just one long stretch of street in the entire United States. And I think it stretches close to 30 miles from one end to the other. And in the middle of it is where we would call East Colfax. When you're starting to go from the capital of Denver, Colorado, with the Gold Dome, probably to about maybe, say, 15 miles from there. That stretch, it's an odd stretch because you run into parts of downtown Denver, and then Colfax running right through the middle. And the Fillmore is an indoor venue, pretty big. It could hold, like, I might be way off, but it could hold, like, I think up to like maybe 5,000, maybe 3,000, somewhere around there. Uh, patrons for like concerts and for gigs, and a lot of big gigs play there from time to time. So when we were still drinking, I had gotten off of work and everything. She's like, "Hey," she's like, "I know this really cool place we should go to for drinks. 2 for 1s and this and that." And this was before like beers were like $40 a beer now, or whatever they are. But yeah. So I was like, okay. And so at the time, I had this coworker, and this was at the height of when, like, my biggest celebrity crush at the time was Jennifer Love Hewitt. Like, I think almost every guy was infatuated with her. And I had this magazine that I had it was like a workout magazine or something. There was an article of her in there. And I mean, I was at work and, you know, we're sitting at our cubicles and I'm like, oh my God, you know, this is when I'm out of the music industry, before I got into film, before I worked at the VA and all that stuff. But a little bit, yeah, outside, a little bit before I got out of the music industry. Um, and just sitting at our cubicles, at our desks and all that. And he never, for some reason, I don't know why, he just never told anybody, you know, and I can understand why. Maybe, you know, doesn't want people to know or something. But I mean, it was clear as day. I mean, if I'm wearing a white shirt and saying, no, I'm not wearing a white shirt, this is freaking totally black. Dude, you're wearing a white shirt. No, no, it's black. That's kind of how like he was with his, you know, uh, with his character. So as we're you know, a lot of guys come around and we're all looking at this magazine, we're all bullshitting and stuff, and all the guys, I'm like, my gosh, she is so fine. And then just think about what, you know, guys say. All saying all this stuff, and he's looking over, he's like, oh my god, she is so beautiful. I'm like, dude, you're not supposed to say she's beautiful, you're supposed to say she's hot. He's like, yeah, she is hot. But we all knew, and none of us cared whatsoever. We liked him. He was I mean, a really cool guy, you know. And so that day, put the magazine away. My friend calls me up. She's like, yeah, you know, before the concert starts, we should hit up this place, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, 2 for 1s, hell yeah, let's go. So she lived kind of close to Colfax, actually. And so I head over there, get ready, and she's like, oh, it's within walking distance. I'm like, all right, let's go, cool. So about 2.5, 3 hours after work, and we go walking into this place. So I'm like, oh, cool, you know, it's empty, not a lot of people. She's like, oh, you know, let's get a table. So as I'm walking, I see my coworker, and sitting there talking with, you know, another guy. I'm like, oh shit, yo, what's up, dude? And I go up to him, and she immediately stops and clasps my hand like a couple, like that. I'm like, yo, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it was weird, you know, her grabbing my hand like that, like if we were walking in as a couple. The moment I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? And she stops me. She's like, look around. And I'm like, what do you... Oh. You brought me to a gay bar for 2 for 1s? What the hell is... So, I'm glad she did that, because even though I'm straight, and I think she didn't want him to perceive like I might be bi or something, but like the look on his face now that I look back on it, and even at that time after she grabbed my hand, was like that of pure terror. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm like, don't worry. I'm like, I already know. I'm like, besides, I'm like, I'm not gonna say shit to anybody. I'm not a fucking gossiper. And then he lightened up. He's like, well, you guys could sit with us. Is this your girlfriend? No. Is this your sister? No, it's just a really good friend of mine, blah, blah, blah. And it ended up being a cool time, fun time, you know. But it was just funny at that time because, you know, when you're trying to, I guess, hide something like that and you don't want people to know, but yet people do know, I think it made him feel like, perhaps, of course, I'm not the guy. I don't know how he felt, but I'm just saying, it was perceived to me like he kind of felt like a weight was lifted off his chest. So at work with him sitting next to me, I never even remotely came close to joking about it. I kept that a secret. I was like, no, dude, I don't, you know, I don't give a fuck. You know, that's, you do you, whatever makes you happy. But when I was in college, this is the only time I didn't like it. When I was in college, I was working part-time at Home Depot in the lumber department. So, about the height of my working out when I lost weight, and I'm lifting weights now to tone up because I didn't ever want to get, you know, that loose, saggy skin that people get if you lose weight too quickly. And I didn't lose weight quickly. Like, I did that shit slowly because I didn't want to have to deal with the second part. Like, if you hear of Ethan Suplee, fucking phenomenal actor. You know, was in Mallrats, was in Remember the Titans, you know, as the big dude, you know. American History X as Seth. You know, the dude is huge. if you seen him now, you'd be like, holy shit, that's him. Like the dude is like all bulked up, looks like a fucking freaking like motorcycle club rider. Like he's just he got into shape, in good shape. But the poor guy had to go through a lot of different surgeries to remove the excess skin. And that happens a lot when you lose weight a little too quickly. Because I think the biggest he got up to was 500 pounds. So, now he's like at, I think, 260, 280, but solid. Like he's yoked. I mean, the dude is big. And for me personally, I had a friend who was, God rest his soul, rest in peace, younger than me, and he passed away. But he was 280, maybe 3-4% body fat, something like that. Just fucking pure muscle, just huge. And good thing, working out with him, like he really helped me. I mean, you talk to the guy about anything, and he sounded like the, like the most intelligent, like the least intelligent guy you would ever talk to. Yeah, man, like it's totally like, yeah, I don't know, whatever. You talk to him about weed, sounded like a fucking scientist. You talk to him about lifting weights, you can probably give Arnold Schwarzenegger a run for his money on what you need to do to bulk up. I mean, this dude was like just, when you talked about lifting weights or weed, he was a fucking scientist, man, PhD. And, yeah, he really helped me in bulking up. But I told him, I don't want to, like, get big. I don't want to get all, bulked up again. I said I did that when I was playing football, but I was just as fat as I was muscular. I was like, I don't care about being big. I'm not playing football anymore. I just want to have a strong core because of my back. It's all jacked up and this and that. But it was, avoiding getting that loose skin was important. And so why I'm talking about all this is because it has something to do with what I've been going through as far as this episode with the Navy SEAL who, transitioned to a woman and back to a man, because he went through those body changes of being in the best shape, being, he looks fairly short. I don't know how tall he is, but, from being, well built and all that, then going down, taking hormones to a female body and all that, then going back to a male body, which, you could still kind of tell in certain angles, when he's sitting or something, like how his chest is, because he did get breast implants. So me talking about, from the whole gay experience that I had endured with my friend when she took me to this bar, to losing weight and your body changes and all that, and the hormones from, lifting weights and the testosterone and all that, from, where I'm at now is, I concentrate slowly on, keeping my weight down. I do your simple workouts, every day, push-ups, sit-ups, planking, just basically your core exercises. I mean, I went from 330 pounds. I weighed more in sixth grade than what I do now. I was 240 in sixth grade. And right now, I'm at about 215. The thinnest I got was 185. And this is when I was married, because I was constantly fucking stressed. I got down because I wanted to. But that's when I was like, yo, I look like way too skinny. And then I had people at the VA asking me, like, are you okay? Like if I had cancer or something. I mean, I looked awful. I thought being that skinny would be, oh yeah, I reached my goal. Man, fat boy, you were 185 when you were like freaking 6 years old. So came back up to 215, which is perfect for me. Put on a little bit of muscle, and then I just keep myself right there. Watch what I eat like a chick, which I get a lot of shit from my friends. But nonetheless, I'm talking about this because this has a lot to do with Chris/Kristin Beck. That's still legally his name, which he is going to change back, he has said. But without further ado, let's go to part 3. I fucked up the recordings plenty of times yesterday. Today I'm going to get it right. So you guys can skip past this. I will mark it down in the description. I just thought I'd tell you this funny story before we get there. So here we go.